to order. Mr. Shaw, if you would lead us in the pledge.
Yes, Madam President.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay. Our first item on the agenda, or second item, is special celebrations. Mr. Flowers, is he here tonight? Yeah, there he is.
He is.
There you are. I see we have the marching band state champions.
That was on the agenda. Unfortunately, it got put on this agenda. It's supposed to be on the next agenda. So we will be here. Mr. Tim is going to be here. Mr. James is going to be as well. So they're planning to come next time, but they didn't want to come during their break.
Do we have any other celebrations?
No, no other celebrations tonight.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Flowers. Okay. Our next item then is update on leadership services. Mrs. Watts?
Good evening, President Neely,
Good evening.
Dr. Sachs, board members. I have two different presentations this evening. I first will have our English Language Learner Program, and then we'll have Project Aware. And so I have some very special people here with me today to help us through that. Now, it seems only fitting, since I have experienced a Spanish language learner just while I was in Peru, to have a new appreciation, not really a new appreciation, but when you travel and you do not speak their language, and when I think of our students that come to us not speaking language, these ladies go well beyond the expectation to ensure that our students are very well taken care of and get the support that they need as they transition from their native language to the English language. So, without further ado, I love to introduce these ladies because sometimes they're the ladies that are working always behind the scenes, and they're in and out of schools. So they're with me, and then they're going to take over the presentation so they can share with you the program that they have. So we have Elizabeth Johnson, and Elizabeth's at the Village of Barboursville, Barboursville Middle, Milton Elementary, and Cabell Middle and High School, supporting the students there. And then we have Naomi Wilson, and Naomi is actually our ELL lead. She's our liaison with our between the teachers and the central office. She does a great job keeping me abreast, and she can put her finger on any type of information that I need. But Naomi is at the Career Center, and she works with the adults, Spring Hill Elementary, Explorer Academy, and Heights Saunders Elementary. Then we have Maddie Cannon, who's on maternity leave, and they worked hard to make sure we had a good sub. But Maddie has Southside Elementary, Central City, Huntington Middle, and Huntington High. Then we have Christine Bird, and Christine is Davis Creek Elementary, Nichols Elementary, Huntington East Middle, and also Barbers Middle. We left that off there. So here's Christine, and we have Marcia Ball. Marcia is actually kind of our part-time, that she works a little everywhere with us, but she's High Lawn, Altizer Elementary, and works also with Huntington High. And Meadows, that's right. And I just want to give these ladies a big round of applause because they definitely go well beyond the call of duty to service not only the students, but help our gen ed, our regular ed teachers, and our special ed teachers have a better understanding on how to support these students. So with that, I'd like to applaud them. And now I'm going to turn it over to Naomi.
Thank you. Just to make sure I'm a little less fuzzy, I'm taking off my mask. Yeah, okay, good. Oh, I'm tall, hold on. Yes, if you want to go to the next slide. Okay.
There's the clip.
Ha. So just a couple ideas on how students enter our program is that it all starts with the registration paperwork. All students in the state of West Virginia fill out a home language survey, And one of the questions on there, is there another language besides English that's spoken in the home? So when a family marks yes on that, then the schools collect that and send it to us, whether it's sending it to me as the lead teacher, or if they already have rapport with the ESL teacher for their school, then they have like a place that they would designate, and then we start the process from there. We have to do a screener to see where their starting level of English is, and there is the opportunity for them to test out as proficient from the very beginning. You know, some of these students already know English, they just also have a second language in their home, and then the other ones that don't test as fully proficient, that's when we will assign their levels, and we go from there. Before I talk about services, is there anything else that you guys wanted to add? All right. So then once they have, on the screener, shown that they are not fully English proficient based on their grade level, then that means that they're going to need some interventions and some services from us. And so we develop a schedule based on the schools that we're at, speaking with the teachers, the classroom teachers at those schools, so that we can try to meet the needs of all the students at all the grade levels at all the different schools that we're at. We discuss the language needs with the classroom teachers. We give them ideas what they can do in the classroom. Since we're only going to be there for small snippets of time, but these students are going to be in their classroom the rest of the day, then we want to give them ownership on these students. So it's not just our ESL students, it's our students together. And so we talk about classroom accommodations, testing accommodations, things like that are the things that we discuss with the classroom teachers so that we can all be on the same page on how to make learning and showing their proficiency with the knowledge that they're supposed to be learning in school, and how to make that manageable for them so that it's not all so difficult, that we can make it in the chunks that they're going to understand so that they can have growth throughout the year. And so those services might look like us pulling them out and doing one-on-one, or maybe in like a small group of just ESL students that are all in the same grade level or all at the same, have the same language needs. Or we might push in if it's a student that is pulled out for a lot of different things, then sometimes the classroom teachers ask us if we can push into the class and help support learning the classroom routines, because that's something that that they aren't getting because they're pulled out so often. And so sometimes being able to help them in the classroom is one of the ways that we might serve them. And also at the high school, we've offered a class usually at the end of the day, and that way as they've gone through all of the class periods, maybe if they had a test earlier in the day, then they are able to like retake it with the ESL teacher. We can go over things, and so it's a combination of helping them manage high school classwork, which is already quite rigorous, as well as giving them those foundational English skills. And we're able to offer that as one of their electives. Before I talk about exiting, was there anything else?
You are amazing.
I just want to make sure that I'm not forgetting anything. All right. Then we talk about lifelong learners, and there are ESL students that have been in our program for several years, and the goal is to be able to get them to proficient. Sometimes there are background issues, and they might be in our program longer than some other students. It can depend on if they had interrupted schooling before they get here, how old they are when they get here, how much their parents have English, what types of backgrounds their parents have. You know, there's just like any of the students in the classroom come from all different backgrounds, so do ours, and that affects their learning. But it is exciting when our students do reach that level where they have tested out as proficient and can exit our program. So on the ELPA 21 summative assessment that is coming up, February and March is our testing window. So we will be working with the schools, talking with the principals this coming week about making sure that we can get a place that's secure for testing, This is just like GSA and SAT that's got to have, the mandated quiet times and, the testing procedures in place, and we've got our scripts and all of that kind of stuff. And then when they have scored proficient, sometimes students just have really good test days or they guessed really well. So we do have to monitor them by state and federal standards, to follow them for 2 years, where we still talk with the teachers, but we don't necessarily pull them out and offer the student services, but we do check their grades. We do talk with the teachers those next 2 years just to make sure that they're staying on track. And there have been a couple students, not very many, but there have been a couple that tested proficient, but the following year the teachers have said, we're really noticing some gaps in this area, and then we can go through, we have been able to rescreen and enter them into the program again, and maybe they just needed one more year of support. And then we're super excited to complete the exited paperwork. Again, there's forms, just like anything that's a federal program. There's paperwork that we have to do, but it's exciting to be able to say, yes, they've met this criteria, yes, they're succeeding in school, and that we can put them on officially on that exited side of our notations. Was there anything else that you guys want to? I'm giving you guys the chance.
We love
Yeah.
our job. We love working with the students. We love working with the students. We love the interaction with the families. We actually become families because we follow them for many years. Some I've had since 7th grade that are seniors, and I'm super excited to see them graduate. So it's really this connection we have with these families and students, and we love our job.
That is one of the benefits that we have that maybe the classroom teachers don't, is that we get to work with the same students and we've developed that rapport, whereas the classroom teachers are getting new students every year. And what they do is wonderful, but I think all of us are in the position that we are because we really love getting deeper with our students like that too. So do you guys have any questions for us?
Madam President, I would
Mr. Shaw?
ask one. Maybe Ms. Wilson, what is the most common second language that you find in a home?
So that's actually a really great question, because everyone just assumes that Spanish is the most common everywhere. But one of the things that we're really blessed with here in Cabell County is that we have over 20 languages represented. Now, granted, some of those, there might only be 1 or 2 students that speak this language, and that's fine. And it does create an interesting challenge for us. But probably our top 3 are Spanish, Chinese, and Arabic. A little bit of the influence from the community as well as through Marshall. Some of those are children of Marshall students or Marshall professors as well.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Any other questions? Mrs. Bond?
Sorry, my mic's not on. I apologize, Madam President. I think that's wonderful that so many different languages are represented. I personally think it is a blessing to have a bilingual home. I mean, that is amazing. And I can also see where it would be so easy to struggle without this. If you don't understand the question, how in the world can you absorb the material when it
Exactly.
is not in your tongue?
Yeah.
So it's wonderful. Very well done. Oh,
Yeah.
and the culture. Oh, I would so enjoy
So
that.
including the students that we are actively serving and the students that have tested out but we're still following, we are over 150 spread out at the majority of our schools. I mean, you saw the list of where we are. There's a handful of schools that either don't have ESL students or the only ESL students that are there are ones who have exited and they are past the 2-year mark. So we didn't include them on the list since we're not actively working with students at those schools.
Wow.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions? We want to thank you for the presentation. It was wonderful. Thank you for coming, and
Thank
we appreciate everything that you do.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
I can speak another language. Oh, I would love to speak.
They are a pretty amazing group of ladies, and they know, I can call them and have a question about a student, and they know the whole history. And their documentation, that they've created beyond what the state has created, and they attend. We've been able to offer over the last, really the last 4 years that I've been here with Dr. Hvac, we've been able to offer amazing professional development to our regular ed teachers, to them as well, that I think has really bumped our program up to support. So it does help that Dr. Hvac has a lot of knowledge about this arena as well.
Being able to have a spouse that is English as a second language and teacher makes me appreciate the teachers that we have here doing the exact same work, because I know that the challenges that our students have, and being able to have someone with their level of expertise working with them as well as their colleagues in the classroom, making sure that our teachers have the strategies to help differentiate those lessons, to be able to modify assignments for those students who don't have the English language proficiency that they need, for the content. It takes a special skill set, and so I'm really, really proud of these fine educators that, again, are sort of, for those students and their families, they have special connections, but it's one of those positions that not everybody really knows knows much about, because they're sort of behind the scenes a lot of times, and so very, very proud of the work that you all do.
Yeah. You're here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So now we're going to shift gears, and Mr. Keith Thomas is going to update you. If you remember last year, we've received the Project Aware grant, and he and Samantha Hicks, but that's not your last name now, Williams, they get married on you, on Project Aware. Mr. Thomas.
Madam President, board members, Dr. Hvac, I just wanted to give you an overview on what Project Aware is, update you where we are and where we're going with this. As you know, Project Aware was made available to us by the West Virginia Department of Education. West Virginia was one of 20 states who received this grant, and Cabell County was one of 3 counties that received this grant a little over a year ago. So we're about a year and a half into this grant. Our overwhelming theme from this grant is to increase the capacity of mental health, address and identify mental health in our schools, prevent youth violence, and to make sure that our students are achieving in the classroom. So that's really the big focus behind this. If you see there, you'll see our budget for year 1 and year 2 through 5. This is a 5-year grant. I did put proposed budget because that has been subject to change and could change on us at any time. But the majority of that money is spent on salaries because we have 3 schools involved. That's Milton Elementary, Milton Middle, and Cabell Middle and High School. We did hire a social worker at each school, as well as a project coordinator, which is Samantha Williams, who's with us today. The next 2 slides that I've shared with you all, that's really for informational purposes. But the reason I put it in there is because I want you to see how much Ms. Williams, as project coordinator, has expanded this program from the beginning. In the beginning, we basically started with Marshall University, Prestera, and the West Virginia Department of Ed. And if you look now, we have 2 full pages of partnerships along with some other ones that we just added recently. So she's really expanded the partnership and collaboration with this program. This week, as you know, death is a big thing right now with COVID, along with the drug epidemic in our area. Hospice has agreed to partnership with us as well and provide grief support, which is a needed addition to all of our schools. Just to give you a brief overview of these positions that we hired, the roles of each one of them. Ms. Williams is the project coordinator. She makes sure that each of our schools get what they need to support this grant. That what she does is she visits these schools. She does a needs assessment. She meets with our social workers on a daily basis who are at each of these schools to address the needs. She provides the training. She works with our partners, our local partners, and provides PD for our staff, our teachers, and others when needed. The social workers, they're the ones who are in the trenches. One of the best parts of seeing our employees working in this grant is when I go to these schools, I don't see these social workers in a classroom. Every time I've been to each of these schools, they're either in the cafeteria at lunchtime, talking to every one of these kids, building relationships to make sure that these kids are comfortable. And I'm not talking just elementary, middle and high. They're out in the hallways, they're in the classrooms, they're in the lunchrooms, talking with every kid, and that's encouraging. If you look at our program focus, first and foremost, we want to make sure that every kid has help. Mental health is a big area of need right now, and we want to make sure that we don't ever miss a kid, and we're working on that daily. But we also understand that if we're not meeting the mental health needs of our children, that the academic needs will not be met. So we want to develop a meaningful system to engage our kids, to engage our staff, and especially our families, because it takes everyone involved for mental health to prevent and increase our capacity to be successful. Here's some good numbers that everyone's always interested in. We're using a tiered support system here with Project Aware. Tier 1, and that's available for all students. We've serviced over 2,900 students in those 3 schools in Tier 1. In Tier 2, 229 students have been serviced at that level. And in Tier 3, 66 students have been serviced. And if you want some examples of that, Ms. Williams will be glad to come forward and share that with you. Again, on the last slide, that's some of the programs that I wanted to share with you that we're using. Those are all evidence-based, and they do work. I've seen it in action as our social workers. They're all trained on these. But I want to go one step further and look at what we have in our schools right now. Everyone agrees mental health is something that we need to address in our schools, and everyone agrees that we have to get everyone involved. But I want to just look at each school right now. Every school in Cabell County has a nurse in their building. Every school. Every school in Cabell County has a counselor. Every school in Cabell County has a social worker assigned to them. Every school in Cabell County has a Prestera-based therapist assigned to them. And every school in Cabell County has the opportunity to use a clinical psychologist in their building, and we also have psychologists assigned to every building. At the meetings I've been to and the attendance directors and coordinator of supports that I talk to throughout the state, Cabell County is blessed to have what we have to address the concerns of mental health and academics. And with that being said, we are truly blessed to have this grant. Timing was perfect for this, but I think we got to give hats off to our teachers in the classroom, our principals at each school, to make all this come together and work, because it's easy to throw it out there, but to make all this come together and work effectively, that's something. So hats off to our teachers, our counselors, our social workers, our principals, and everybody at the school level, and definitely to our executive directors here who helped make it happen as well. So we're excited about where we're going with Project Aware. Are we perfect yet? No. Are we growing every day? Absolutely, we are, and we look forward to continuing to work with families and students. Do y'all have any questions?
Mrs. Vaughn.
Thank you, Madam President. I don't know if this would be for you or Miss Williams. Hi, sweetheart, back there. What criteria is used to establish those different tiers? What's the difference between the 3, please?
Okay, I could answer it, but I think it'd be great, since Miss Williams is the one who's actually doing this, to come.
I'm taking her from you.
Basically, tier 1 is our prevention tier.
Okay.
We want everybody to have the same ability to prevent. Tier 2 are children that aren't necessarily getting everything that they need to get from tier 1. So
Okay.
those are like our smaller groups. Those are our kids that have been like caught vaping, kids that have truancy issues. We put them in smaller group settings and we try and do different interventions with them. Our tier 3 are the ones that are not successful either of those tiers, and that's more like direct services, like therapeutic services, check in, check out daily. Those are our kids. A lot of them are in our behavior disorder rooms. A lot of them are not necessarily successful in the everyday school, so
Okay.
they get to come out and talk to one of us when they're struggling.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I'm sorry, honey.
That's all right. Any other questions? Mr. Thomas, thank you so much.
Thank you all.
That was a good presentation.
Mr. Thomas, thank you very much. Before you leave, though, I don't know that the board members got the handout.
We did.
We didn't, I took notes.
Can you,
Yeah.
well, I was gonna say, can you print those off before you leave?
I can get
And then we'll
those
make
now.
sure they get them
Yeah.
before the end of the meeting?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, and Ms. Williams, thank you for coming, bringing that pretty girl.
She does an awesome job.
Very cute. She does. And that little girl is darling.
Yeah.
Okay, our next item is operations and support. Mr. Hardesty?
Good evening, Madam President, board members, Dr. Sachs. Not a lot to report today. I do want to just touch base on a few things. The routing app that we have been working on for our transportation department, we did hit a few snags with Milton Elementary due to all of the outlying address changes that we're trying to make sure that we get placed in the computer appropriately. We're trying to finalize that. That is the only elementary school we did not get on board prior to the break.
Okay.
And we're very close. We're still working through some of those bugs. As soon as we get Milton Elementary finished, we're going to move to the middle schools and bring those on board as well. A few other things, the water fountains that were on the board agenda last meeting that you all approved for purchase with those, the federal stimulus money, we have ordered those. So those are on order now. We're working on the scoreboard at Milton Middle School. We're waiting on one quote on an installation quote to come back. And as soon as we receive that, that will probably appear before you as well. I'm not sure if it needs to. I might want to rephrase that. But we're working on that. I know that's something that's a project we've been working on. I just wanted to update you. The HVAC project at the bus garage is now complete. And so I know that room was used yesterday for training. Some of our county training took place there. Our snow removal equipment is in place and ready to go. We are anticipating bringing our crew in as needed, possibly this week. Of course, the weather will dictate that, and I'm sure there will be a handful of us out driving early on Friday morning. So we'll see how that works. But the pump station at Milton, I believe I reported that last time, is complete. That is now ready to go. The vehicles, I just wanted to let you know, we still don't have an update on any of those. We're still waiting. We call, they call, and they're in transit. So there are a few that we're still waiting on the delivery date to or the build date to come. But several of them have supposedly been built. We're just waiting on delivery. The asbestos removal is continuing at the future home of the Career Center. We have another meeting on that tomorrow. We have every 2 weeks we have a construction meeting on that progress. We met a couple weeks ago, and at that time the upstairs was finished. The downstairs was in the process, and I'm anxious to see what kind of progress they've made, but I'll find out more on tomorrow evening on that. Personnel departments, they continue. I'm not sure how to even put this, but they post, fill, repost jobs because of movement. We had a little bit different at this point because as personnel laws require, especially through the first semester, new employees and new service employees and service employees themselves can move once in a semester, except new employees, they can't the first semester. So they're in what we call a stay put position. And so all of that changed at the beginning of the second semester. So we had a lot of new jobs that were posted and filled. So we had a lot of movement this week, which in turn will cause other movement. So we have those postings going up. We continue to hire substitutes and again, provide training. We had a training session for a lot of new substitutes the Tuesday before the break, and then again yesterday, and some again today. So we have, I believe the number was close to 30 new substitutes and service personnel that are available for call out tomorrow.
Wow.
So we're excited about that. And speaking of trainings, I just want to mention this. Our coordinators, our new coordinator positions, they facilitated training this week to their cohorts. And so in here we had all secretaries, and our coordinator, Katie Young, provided training to all of the secretaries during a portion of their training yesterday. In the room next door, we had all of our custodians in there, and Roy Nelson provided a training along with Mr. Tackett. They kind of co-taught that one, as well as Mr. Webb. He did a portion, but it was really nice to see them in action. Today, we had the cooks at Huntington East Middle School in 2 different rounds, and Mary Cook led that, facilitated that training, and it was really nice to see them involved and the respect that they get from our employees. It's just really nice to see, because they are there to help them, and I think our employees know that. So again, I want to thank you all for allowing us to have those positions. We are continuing with all of our design team meetings. You all have already seen the progress that we've made with Davis Creek as we move forward. And as we go through the next few board work sessions, we anticipate having more of those. Next week, we are hopeful that we can bring the renovations to you all from Heights, Saunders, and Nichols to let you all see what our plans are there as we prepare that to go out for bid as well. So that is my update for today. Does anyone have any questions?
Mr. Parsons?
When you bid the fountains, did you bid extra filters for those fountains, sir?
I don't know the answer to that. We had a conversation about the filters that we received, and I believe that Pete told me that we were receiving an X number, like everyone have an additional amount, but those are replaceable filters. So I don't think we bid those on the original posting, but I don't think we have to bid the filters.
The air systems in the buildings, are they running 24/7?
Yes.
So we can have air changes 4 air changes every hour?
I don't know how many air changers we're getting, but they have been running pretty much nonstop since March of 2020. And so there was a period there that we did not. If you go back and remember when we shut them down, when we ended school that year, I think it was March the 13th was the last day, we had trouble with a couple coming back online when we turned them back on. For example, Salt Rock, we had some problems there, and we've had to overcome those. So.
Has Charleston Filters been in and changed the filters in our buildings?
Yes, that's a regular thing that's done on a regular basis. On any given day, you may see them in our building. So there is a regular routine schedule they have for all buildings, and it is Charleston Filters.
I'll ask you just one last question. Probably can't answer it. The number of backpack meals that was handed out over the Christmas holiday, do you happen to know that?
I do.
You do?
I do. We only had 40 requests. However, we prepared in anticipation, we prepared 200. What I can tell you is that we have a few community members that the additional backpacks we took to so they could distribute, and we went to the local shelter here to make sure those got in the hands of our students that needed them. And so none went to waste. They were all given out. We prepared 200. There were 40 families that requested them. We made sure all 40 of them received one. The other 160 we made sure got into kids' hands.
The last day of school before the holidays, did they get backpack meals in?
Yes, they did.
So that would increase the amount?
Yes, they received one right before the break,
Yeah.
and then they were able to get another one last Tuesday. Yes.
They couldn't get you tonight.
All right, well, if that's it, that's all I have.
Ready for you.
He was ready.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Hardesty.
Thank you, Mr. Hardesty.
You're welcome.
Okay. Our next item is communications from our superintendent, Dr. Sachs.
Thank you, Madam President and board members. As you may be aware, the CDC provided updated guidance several days ago regarding COVID-19 protocols and quarantines. From there, the West Virginia Department of Education, in conjunction with the West Virginia Department of Health and Human Resources, also provided updated guidance to the school systems across West Virginia. Our team here in Cabell County quickly got to work coordinating with the Cabell County Health Department and our Chief Health Officer, Dr. Laufer. And so I definitely appreciate their quick response to, one, reviewing the updated guidance that was coming both from the federal and the state level, and then looking at our current guidance to see where changes need to be made. One of the big takeaways from the updated guidance that's out there, again, that has come from the CDC as well as the West Virginia Department of Education, is that for Cabell County, our protocols, for the most part, remain relatively unchanged, simply because we have a universal masking requirement in place through February 1st at least. And so because of that, then the number of students that have to potentially go through quarantining procedures or contact tracing, if there is a positive case, don't really exist because everybody's wearing a mask. And so we fall under that protocol. However, where it does affect our students and our staff is during those times when masks would be off when students or staff are eating together in groups. And so the big change that we will see based upon this federal and state guidance is that our quarantine days for positive students or for a close contact used to be 7 days. It is now 5 days. And so again, that is based upon guidance from the CDC, the West Virginia Department of Education, and the West Virginia Health DHHR. And again, that any protocol that we have established is we try to make sure it's consistent with the state and federal guidelines, but it's always, regardless of what comes from the state and the federal government, it is always vetted with our Chief Health Officer and the Cabell Huntington Health Department. So we definitely appreciate the Cabell Huntington Health Department's work in making sure that we're following all of the right processes. Moving on, it's a very special month because January is School Board Recognition Month. So this is the month that we recognize the efforts of each of you all working day in and day out to make sure that in your respective positions as board members to this community, that our students are being well served, that this is a school district that is built upon accountability, but also making sure that we have a top-notch educational system for the students that come through Cabell County schools. And so I can tell you on behalf of the team and I and our teachers and our students and our families, we appreciate what you do in your service to our students. And so with that being said, I get to give these out all the time, but I've never had the opportunity to give our board members the Coin of Excellence. And so in recognition of National School Board Member Month, I wanted to be able to give each of you all the superintendent's coin for your service to our community and to our students.
Thank you so much.
Oh,
Thank you.
It is such a pleasure to work with each of you and to identify our strengths and some of our areas where we can continue to improve, because I think that we all have the unified vision and goal, and that is to provide the best education possible for our students and for our families. And it's deeply reassuring, and it's a blessing that we get to be able to serve in that capacity. Finally, one of the things that we have been doing for the past several years now is, separate from our board meetings, we have our board workshop sessions. And what you may not know is that by and large part, there's been several that we've designed specifically based upon the input from the board. But we try to think about, well, what is it that if you were a board member that we would think that you need to know about or you'd want to know about. And so we've really tried to design those workshop sessions around those types of things. And so, not that you need to give me an answer right now, but I would ask that the board members, as we think about the upcoming year, that if there's any item that you'd like to learn more about, or that you'd like to have a work session around for a discussion or for brainstorming or anything like that, that you email me or let me know, so that my team and I, when we meet every Monday in cabinet, we always go over the board work sessions. What do we have coming up? Are we prepared? What else do we need to add to it? And so if there's something that you would like to make sure that we provide a work session on, I would ask that you just let me know, and we'd love to be able to put that together and put it on the schedule. Right now, we have about a 6-month out board work schedule that we have. That is subject to change. Usually it can change for about 30 days out. We might have to modify it based upon maybe something that's going on, or an issue that we've been seeing trending or something like that. But for the most part, we can probably get it in pretty quick, or we can at least make sure that it's on the outlook for the year. So with that being said, board members, that's all I have. And again, thank you for your service, and I'll be able to answer any questions if you'd like.
Thank you, Dr. Sachs. We appreciate you as well for the job that you have done for Cabell County Schools. And you have been a blessing. You have been a blessing to us. You really have. Your work has just been outstanding. And I'm myself, and I know the board are so happy that you are our superintendent. We really are.
Well, as I said, I feel tremendously blessed, but I could not be as effective if it wasn't for the dedicated team that I have here. They are phenomenal. They're first class all the way. They may say that sometimes my stick's a little long, but they really are first class all the way, and I really do appreciate what they do.
We have a great group of people.
Yes, we do.
We really do. Okay. Thank
Madam
you
Madam President, if I may, I would like to just say it's been, and it is such a privilege to work with such a fine board, and I've learned your commitment and your dedication to our school system, to our children, and I'm proud to be a part of this organization as any I belong to, and I thank you all. Thank you, Dr. Sachs.
Thank you.
Well, I want to tell you, Mr. Shaw, that when we picked you to serve on this board, we couldn't have picked a better person than you to serve with us. You have been wonderful.
Bless your heart. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. Now we'll go on to, is there any delegations?
No, ma'am.
No delegations? Okay. Budget, there's nothing on the budget.
We still need the 3,000 series.
I'm sorry, I moved ahead of myself. Is there anything at the 3,000 series that anybody wants to discuss or pull out at this point in the meeting?
We accept the 3,000 series.
I second. Okay, it's been moved by Mr. Parsons, second by Mrs. Smalley, that we accept the 3,000 series as recommended. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, now we're on the financial, and we don't have anything, Mr. Rodkin, this evening, so we'll go on to the 5,000 series, professional personnel. Is there anything that anybody wants to discuss on the professional personnel?
Madam President, we do have 2 items that we will be requesting approval on as it relates to personnel administrative leave. Since Mr. Hardesty, I'm drawing a blank here. Will they have to say the name of those employees? So, Madam President, I would suggest that before we vote on the personnel section, that we go into executive session to discuss those 2, and then we can come out and we can vote on the entirety of the personnel section along with the potential for adding names to those 2 items.
Okay, I need a motion to go in executive session
Make a motion that we go into executive sessions for item 5.03 and 5.04.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Bond, seconded by Mrs. Smalley. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, we'll be back.
you.
Silas is my last one.
Oh, they got
He
us
doesn't
too.
care what he wears, but the others,
Yeah.
they like really care.
Yeah.
I just care that it's iron. Oh, this year's going so quick, before we know it, it'll be spring break.
Need a motion, Mary? Okay. Need a motion to come back out of executive session?
Motion to come back into regular session.
Second motion?
Been moved by Mr. Parsons, seconded by Mr. Shaw. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We're back in regular session, and we're on the 5,000 series. I need a motion for approval of the 5,000 series with the exceptions of the recommendation from the superintendent.
I make a motion, we accept the 5,000 series, excluding,
Oh,
5.03, 5.04.
Second?
okay, moved by Mr. Parsons, seconded by Mrs. Bond. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Did you want to?
Yes, Madam President.
Recommendations.
Madam President, regarding Section 5.03, administrative leave, I recommend that the board ratify the administrative leave of James Brinkman with pay that began October 28th, 2021, and will continue until a resolution is reached.
Okay, you want a motion on that?
Yes, please.
Need a motion on, what was it,
5.03.
5.03.
Madam President, I offer a motion that we approve the
Okay.
leave of 5.03.
Second?
Okay, it's been moved by Mr. Shaw, seconded by Mrs. Smalley. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Madam President,
yes.
I'm also recommending that the board ratify the administrative leave of Jeffrey Stover with pay that began November 20th, 2021, and will continue until a resolution is reached.
Need a motion?
Madam President, I offer a motion that we approve 5.04 for leave.
Okay, Mr. Shaw moves.
Second.
Mr. Parsons second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, our next item on the agenda is approval of special board items. Are there any special board items at this time?
No, ma'am.
None? Okay, moving on to, do we have any, we don't have any, okay. So then, we don't have executive sessions on that. So, any board comments at this time? None? Okay, then I'm gonna ask for a motion to adjourn.
Madam President, I offer a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Mr. Shaw moves, Mr. Parsons second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Adjourned. Boy, this was quick tonight. This was a fast.